Hello friends, I am Atul Bhargava, your host and dost for today's tutorial. Today we are starting a series of tutorials in which we will learn the very important concept of how to count a particular geometric figure like triangles, squares or rectangles in a given figure. Such questions are frequently asked in company placement exams as well as in other competitive exams. And what we'll teach you today is how to solve any such question in less than 20 seconds. And that's the very reason why this upcoming series of tutorials is called the 20-second challenge series. Hey, wait, I heard someone amongst you saying that you don't believe me? And how can one solve such tricky questions in less than 20 seconds? Okay, then just be attentive for the next 5 minutes or so. By the time you finish watching this video, you will start believing me for sure. So shall we start with the first tutorial of this 20-second challenge series? Okay, then let's start. In the first tutorial today, we will learn how to count the number of squares in a figure like this. I'll take up 4 examples to help you understand the concept thoroughly. As you can see, this figure has 6 rows and 4 columns, hence we call it a 6 by 4 grid. What? You already got the answer? And did I hear 24 as the answer? 6 rows multiplied by 4 columns, which gives us 24. It was that easy. But friends, just wait and think for a while. What you have calculated is just the number of small squares, that is, the 1 by 1 squares. If we look at the figure, we have more squares out there. We have 2 by 2 dimension squares. For example, this one. We have 3 by 3 dimension squares. For example, this particular square. And we have 4 by 4 dimension squares. For example, this one. So we need to count all such squares. But as you can see, counting such squares manually will have 2 major problems. First, it can be very time consuming. And second, it is error prone. That is, even if you miss counting a single square, you will end up getting the wrong answer. So what should we do? Let's see the trick to solve such questions. As this is a 4 by 6 grid, we start by writing 6 into 4, which equals 24, and this is the number of 1 by 1 squares. To find out the number of 2 by 2 squares, just reduce 6 by 1 to get 5 and reduce 4 by 1 to get 3. Now multiply 5 and 3 to get 15. Yes, these are the number of 2 by 2 squares. To find out the number of 3 by 3 squares, reduce 5 by 1 to get 4 and reduce 3 by 1 to get 2. Now multiply 4 and 2 to get 8. Lastly, to get the number of 4 by 4 squares, reduce 4 by 1 to get 3 and reduce 2 by 1 to get 1. Now multiply both these numbers to get 3. So what's the pattern here? We started with 6 into 4, which were the original grid dimensions, and kept reducing both the numbers by 1 until we reached a point where one of these numbers became 1. And finally, to get the total number of squares, we add up all these numbers and get 50 as our correct answer. I hope you understood the trick. Let's reinforce the concept by taking another example. Find the number of squares in an 8 by 5 grid. We don't even need to draw the diagram for this, do we? As discussed, we start by writing 8 into 5, which are the grid dimensions, and multiply them to get 40. These are the number of 1 by 1 squares. Now we start reducing both 8 and 5 by 1 until we reach a point when one of these numbers become 1. Reducing 8 and 5 by 1 each, we get 7 into 4. Reducing 7 and 4 by 1 each, we get 6 into 3. Reducing 6 and 3 by 1 each, we get 5 into 2. Reducing 5 and 2 by 1 each, we get 4 into 1. We multiply all these expressions and add them up to get the final answer, which you can see is 100 in this case. Now that you have understood the trick well, why don't you take out a pen and paper and try a question yourself? This question is very frequently asked in company exams. The question is, How many squares are there in a chessboard? We've all seen a chessboard, right? Just pause the video and try it out. Right. So you've got the answer. Yes, the correct answer is 204. And by the way, how much time did you take to do it? I am sure that with a little practice, you won't take more than 20 seconds to solve it. Let's check out the solution then. We start by writing 8 into 8, which is 64. We reduce both 8's by 1 to get 7 into 7, which is 49. We keep doing it until we reach 1 into 1, which is 1. We add all these numbers and get 204 as our answer. That's it. But here, the process could have been further shortened. As you can see, we started with 8 into 8, which is nothing but 8 square. Then we had 7 into 7, which is 7 square, 6 into 6, which is 6 square, and so on up to 1 into 1, which is 1 square. So what was required was the sum of the squares of first 8 numbers. Now, do you know the formula to find the sum of the squares of first n numbers? Some of you would already know it, but let me take it here for your convenience. The formula is n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 divided by 6. And in this very question, as we know, n is equal to 8. Putting n equal to 8 in the formula, we can directly get the required answer, which is 204. Great. This brings me to the last question of today's tutorial, which is just another variant of this chessboard question. Sometimes the examiner may ask you not to find the total number of squares, but just to find the number of squares of a particular dimension. Let's say 3 by 3 dimension squares. How do you find it? You already know the process, right? 8 into 8, that is 64, were the number of 1 by 1 dimension squares. 7 into 7, that is 49, were the number of 2 by 2 dimension squares. And 6 into 6, that is 36, were the number of 3 by 3 dimension squares. So 36 becomes the right answer. So this way, you can find out the number of squares of any particular dimension. That's it for this tutorial, friends. In the next tutorial, we will see how to count the number of rectangles in a figure. So please subscribe to our channel immediately to make the most out of these tutorials. Thanks for watching and bye for today.